guys, today's video is going to be on a topic that I think a lot of people could benefit from. I've been asked about it a couple times, and it is when to switch up what you're doing as far as programming wise, as far as switching up which periodization block you're doing altogether. And this actually depends on a couple things. Number one, I would say, is your goal. Obviously, if you're planning on hitting a 1 rep max in 4 weeks, you're not going to be working in a hypertrophy type of rep range or type of set range, that type of thing. So if you're trying to hit PRs in 4 weeks and then you're programming the next 4 weeks is looking like you have to hit something like eventually 5 sets of 10 at 65 to 70% of your max or something like that, it's probably not going to be ideal, and I would recommend probably switching to a peaking block for that type of thing. But that should pretty much be obvious for the most part, I think. For instance, I think one of the best analogies for this I ever heard was, let's say somebody had a gun to your head, and I guess somehow they were following you around for a year with a gun to your head. Anyway, point being, they're saying, I will shoot you unless you squat 600 pounds a year from now. If you are in the process of, let's say, squatting once a week, this is what's been your programming for a long time at this point. Do you think it would be more beneficial in a circumstance like that to be squatting once a week, or would you likely increase your squat frequency because you're probably not going to get enough work in to potentially be able to do that? I don't know. And granted, that's not set in stone because obviously recovery is a factor in that, but just trying to keep it as simple as possible in the case where you're trying to create a certain adaptive response for your body, common sense kind of applies there. I guess the second thing would be if you don't see a marked change in progress over the course of a few weeks. For instance, and this is the exception, if you're jumping on a new program and you're 2 weeks in and you're wondering why this doesn't quite feel right, like something doesn't, you're not seeing any necessarily marked increases rep-wise or strength-wise or whatever. And this just could be because they're having you do a percentage-based program where all your stuff is submaximal. And in actuality, you might be gaining strength that you just might not be able to be, I guess, testing it at that time, because not all programming has AMRAPs built in, has certain rep PRs built into it. A lot of it is just submaximal and have you do, let's say, a 3x5 at 75 to 80% or something like that. And they'll just have you stick with a consistent weight, so you might not notice a marked increase. But if you're presented with an opportunity, let's say it's Wendler 531 or something like that, and at the end of your training day, you are supposed to do an AMRAP with a certain percentage of your max or a certain percentage of your training max in their case, and it's over the course of a few weeks, probably I'd say 6 to 8 weeks would probably be where I would probably start to say to switch things up. But if you haven't increased those reps for AMRAPs or just any weight whatsoever, I'd probably switch up what you're doing. Maybe if you're in whether that be at a hypertrophy block, a strength block, or whatever, I would just say maybe shift one from one to the other, or shift from strength to peaking or something like that. And that's what I think I'm going to be doing in the near future, because the marked increases that I've been seeing are beginning to not be quite as consistent as they had been. I guess the final thing really is more of a subjective thing than really a goal-oriented thing. And honestly, you're supposed to have fun when you're training. If you're looking at it as like, I need to go in there because it's a compulsion, or you just have to do it out of a sense of need, or instead of like a sense of, I want to do this to get better, I have fun while I'm doing this, then I don't know, that's probably not the way I would go about it. So let's say, for instance, and this directly applies to myself today, I was supposed to come in, bench press, do some front squatting, and I guess 2 different factors had applied for me for this. I had not been enjoying front squatting for a few weeks. Everything just felt uncomfortable. It was starting to aggravate my hip a little bit more than I had liked. And on top of that, I'm hitting way more volume with my front squat than I am even my low bar squat. So as far as from specificity, it's not really reaching the needs that I want. Granted, it is helping my deadlift, I think, but I can find some other exercise probably to replace like a mid-back type of stimulation that I need from my front squatting. So I changed it from front squat to high bar squat, and I feel so much better. And not only that, I'm enjoying my training a lot more. I'm not in any discomfort. It's just, and it's more specific to what I'm going to actually have to be doing if and when I do start to decide to compete again. And it's just much more enjoyable. So you have to shape what you're doing around your goals. If there's not marked increases after a certain amount of time, I recommend switching your programming a little bit, whether it be just one exercise or your entire programming philosophy. Or if you're just not really enjoying what you're doing as far as while you're lifting, maybe it's time to change some things up. But that's all I got for you guys today. In the meantime, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.